Whether it be medieval melodies or Baroque bangers, musical history is rich with tunes that's sure to get your toes tapping. Over the course of thousands of years, we went from monophonic chants to cats don't dance. But modern audiences seem to listen to modern music. Of course, actually being able to record and playback performances has something to do with this, but it's a bit more than that. You see, a total cultural shift arose over 100 years ago, and it wasn't just cause tech got good. What I'm trying to say is, music has changed a lot. Of course it changes. But more recently, music has seen a shift in how it's written. As sheet music and pianos made compositions more accessible, we saw a split divided between what people call artistic works and vernacular. These vernacular works are for the common person, folk, marches, and eventually pop music. I know it's a bit confusing since pop music is a genre of music, but it's also used to classify all mass-marketed works. And this is a wide field. Pretty much anything you can think of from the 20th century would be defined as popular music. Not even if it was popular, but rather the nature of its construction and intent. See, artistic works were more of an exercise in musical theory rather than an attempt to appeal to most people. So back to the topic at hand. If you take the 1800s and the 1900s and you compare the popular vernacular tunes, there's a bit of disparity. London Bridge is Falling Down and London Bridge by MSI are two somewhat different pieces, but somewhere in the middle, a point where contemporary and, let's say, traditional songs combine. In this small period of time, we find the moment where music changed forever. The Maple Leaf Rag. It was a major hit, a part of a newfangled craze. It inspired others to try their hand at the honky-tonks and the boogie-woogies. No, it wasn't the first ragtime ditty, but it was the one that really blew the doors open. The genre of ragtime itself was different than what came before, combining repeating meters that drives the tune into your brain with these staccato harmonies. Of course, how could we forget the core of ragtime music? Syncopation. This is basically when you play slightly off beat, giving the tune a bit of a swing. It definitely wasn't invented with this genre, but combined with the fast tempos, well, it gave more energy to the music than a lot of people were used to. And the offbeat nature is exactly where the name ragtime comes from. The rag part being a slang for syncopation, and the time part being, yeah, you get it. The bass line grooves, the treble leads, it all gives off a very modern feel. I mean, try transferring it to MIDI and it's not too hard to imagine this as an 8-bit chip tune. Something I should point out is that artistic works, stuff like symphonies, generally have a motif that pops up here and again. These are the moments we often remember and recite, but it usually only makes up a very small portion of the total runtime. Ragtime was not bound to this. Repetition is what makes popular music so popular, and this repeating, unaltered chorus made songs easy to remember. Give that phonograph cylinder a spin and you can bring it home. No need to get out the fancy suit for a night out at the theater. And even if you don't want to shell out for the record, hey, you can just play it yourself on this fancy machine, you cheap bastard. Just one piano, that's all you need to recreate this masterpiece. It's a lot more convenient than getting the orchestra out to just listen to your favorite tune. Ragtime was by no means invented right here. Scott Joplin, who wrote the piece, said it was around for a long time, but nobody noticed it. And if I may take a brief aside, this man went on to write the well-known Entertainer just a few years later, and a lesser-known opera that was lost to history until the 1970s. This fast-paced tempo, syncopated beats, and basic song structure that were all adopted as basic elements of popular music. And as with all media, this wasn't in a vacuum. Hundreds of pieces could be attributed to this one's creation. But much like today, it's the popular things that we remember, the popular things that inspire inspire other things that become popular, and so on and so forth. Now, I've talked about the recording market, but we also had increased consumerism, new media formats, new social dynamics, the radio, each that would contribute to the rise of ragtime, which would lead to the rise of jazz and swing, modern blues, rock and roll, metal, hip-hop, and that one guy. Rock and roll came from blues and metal from bloopy-doopy-bloop. But when you go back just a little bit further, we seem to hit a wall right here. Thus, the importance of maple leaf rag. And of course, art is subjective. Defining concrete shifts in culture is hard, and the fault of viewing anything in history with a modern lens means that this could all just be the skewed assumptions of a somewhat bald man. But taking all of this into consideration, and especially this vast disparity between vernacular music pre-Maple Leaf and post-Maple Leaf, I can't help but see something truly special with this work. Something that, at least in my mind, has had the greatest impact on this entire medium. The most influential pop song of all time. But hey, what do I know? I'm just a Tyler of the Knowledge Hub.